Good morning, everyone. And Mickey Dillon, I'm so glad that you're my friend. I think it's really exciting that as far as the corporate team, that you guys have known each other, the big three. I would say you guys have been hanging around together for about 30 years. I imagine you get along well. And what's really fun is to make things happen. You guys are so complementary in your skills and what is ready. And then we got some pretty good people out in the field too. And the very best product there could be. And I'm just thinking in my mind of all the things I've ever been involved in. And I just love what we do. It's just the most powerful thing. Way back 49 years ago, I was at my first opportunity meeting, and they do these circles out, and you find six people, and they find four people, and they find just two people. But this multiplying effect, it just forever changed the wiring in my head, this idea where you can share it with somebody and that becomes their idea, and it goes on and just multiplies out, just endless possibilities. And so, wow, what a way to influence people by teaching people how to teach people. And then, okay, now we're all together. What are we going to do? Well, why not have a business? And of all the businesses there is, all of them have some type of product or service. Well, what would be the best product to do the best good for the most people? And I would say, just in my experience, the things that Avini has right now have the power to change people in a positive way better than anything I've ever worked with. There's a lot of wonderful things that you can do out there. But if you're just thinking in your mind, how can I affect the most people in the greatest possible way? You should take a look at Avini, because this is where we are. And a person just joining right now could have the wonderful satisfaction of just a year or two from now having the thrill that they've affected the lives of thousands of people. And it's just going to keep going. But how do you do that? And we were just mentioning earlier, it starts with a phone call. And that's one of the most wonderful things is as you call up and share this with somebody, maybe nothing will happen. But on the other hand, it could be a thousand possibilities. It could be great. New friendships, a ripple effect of affecting a great many people. So, anyway, hey, Mickey, to kick it off, you've been around about as long as me. You've done this a lot. What's your background and how did you meet Neil and Rick? I know you've gone on the road with Rick. How many years ago? So it's really cool. And it's so wonderful after all of these years to just be excited and thinking, wow, I got something new to do and I'm pumped. That's what we share. I think right now, this moment, I'm the happiest I've ever been because I'm in my A game again. I got something to do. And I think just in a practical sense, you're going to live longer and live better if you have a massively transformative purpose that gets you out of bed. And boy, you're just living bigger and greater when you have something wonderful to do. Mickey, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, Dave, thank you so much. And I am very honored and I always say humbled as well to be here, to be with each of you on a Saturday morning. That to me, that shows commitment. And we're going to talk a little bit about that word commitment here this morning. But for you to be here on a Saturday morning, there's a lot going on in life today. And so the fact that you guys are here ready to learn, kind of like a sponge, soaking it all in. Congratulations for that. Let me just share with you briefly my background. I actually grew up in Huntsville, Alabama, ended up going to Davidson College in North Carolina and played football there, got a degree in pre-medicine, decided not to go to med school, thankfully, and ended up in the pharmaceutical business, did that for about a decade. And I didn't like the way the pharmaceutical industry was going. I didn't like corporate America really at all. And I'm not sure they liked me, although I kept moving up the corporate ladder. So I started looking for something, and I got that phone call. And Dave and I were laughing about that earlier. We're old school. My goodness, he's been around this industry 49 years. I've now been around it for 35 years. And in my opinion, there's no better way to introduce somebody to what we're doing than a phone call, unless maybe it's belly to belly. But a phone call shows people that they can do that. And I got a phone call, and a buddy of mine said, "You need to take a look at something." And so I looked, and it made sense. It got started on October of 1991 with Rexall Showcase International. And let me say, up front here, and I know sometimes because of our people's past in the industry, and there are companies that are out there and all they do is talk money, 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 and they don't really have a product. And that's not who we are. But I can say that when I was approached with this industry, similar to Dave, I had no idea really what it was. But I went to that first opportunity presentation and I saw this multiplying effect, find a few that find a few that find a few. And all of a sudden, that residual income, all of that just made sense to me. And so I got involved with Rexall Showcase International because of two things. Number one, I could do it part time without jeopardizing my current job. And number two, because they had a product that was a fiber product that was patented to lower cholesterol. Well, I didn't have high cholesterol, so I didn't really need that product for that reason, but I needed the product because I needed fiber. Because most of us don't get enough fiber. So, anyway, I got started with the company 13 months, went full time, and I've been full time in the industry ever since. Only with two companies. I stayed with Rexall until 2004 and in 2004 became a member of Wayora International. And it was in Rexall that I met Neil, and it was in Rexall that I met Rick, both of those people, and actually in Rexall. And this is kind of a dubious distinction, or I don't know if it was a distinction or honor or what it was called, but in Rexall, I was the most traveled distributor in the entire company. Now, what does that mean? Well, many people still call me the Road Warrior. And I know lots of people have been named the Road Warrior, but I did more meetings in person, in homes, in hotels than anybody in that entire company. And mainly because I really loved it. Number two, I was single, but I enjoyed the business and it was just exhilarating to be out there meeting new people all around the country. Both of those companies had really good, meaningful products. 2005 is when Rick brought the Zeolite to Wayora, and we had no idea what we had until all of a sudden we had miraculous life-saving results starting to happen just right before our eyes, and we didn't even know it. And so I have been using the Zeolite and good products for a long time. And so I tell you that because for me, what I've used has been for prevention. I really haven't had anything that I've needed any kind of major medical help with. And so prevention, number one, and then number two, for the financial aspect of it. We've been fortunate to do well in the industry to get the top of two companies. And so it's just an exciting thing. And once again, so Wayora ended, unfortunately, because the owner decided to go a different direction. And for 4 years, really, I've been kind of looking around. And somebody asked me at the beginning of 2020 2025. Well, let's see. No, 2024. They asked me, and one of my friends at the lake said, Mickey, what's your goal for this year? I know you're a goal oriented guy. What's your goal? And I said, I just want to find something that I can get passionate about, that I really can get behind and feel good about what I'm doing. And I want to have the opportunity to make some money doing that. Well, then I got the phone call from Neil Roth. I hadn't talked to Neil. Literally, we hadn't talked to one another in 15, 16 years. And he called me and said, hey, here's what's going on with our company. Would you be interested in taking a look? Took a look. November, decided to join the company. And so here we are. And so once again, it gets back to a phone call. And it all starts there. And let me just say this about the telephone, because there are some of you on the phone, on the call or the Zoom here today that are new. And there may be some of you that have been around for a while. And you probably have in your house what I have had in my house every now and then, and that's that 1,000-pound telephone. Sometimes that telephone is so heavy, man, we will do anything to not pick that thing up. We'll sweep for hours outside, or we'll clean the house, or we'll do whatever instead of picking that telephone up. But I'm telling you, great things happen when you pick the phone up. We just gotta, great things happen in that. And so Dave and I were talking yesterday briefly, just kind of about this whole idea of getting yourself to diamond or to the highest level that you can possibly get to. And that is so important in our business because we think it's impossible in many cases, but it isn't. And so I've always said, and you might get a kick out of this, I thought it was kind of funny myself. I have said for years that this industry, this business of Avini is a 6-inch business. It's a 6-inch business. And what I mean by that is it's right here. It's the 6 inches between our ears. So I actually measured between my ears today, and it's just about 6 inches. It looks like it's about 6 inches, but so 6 inches. Think about that. It's really mentally Up here, that's what we have to do. We have to transform our minds that we are focusing on the things that we can control. And you know what we can't control just right off the bat? We can't control what somebody says. If they say yes or no, we can't control that. What we can control is picking up the phone and calling them, and we can control how we present our opportunity to them, which is very, very important. And then we can control, and this is where so many people drop the ball. We can control how we follow up in a timely fashion and properly. See, we can control those things. We can't control the outcome. We can control the process. And that's really what we need to become really, really, really good at is this whole process. And it's a very simple process. We all make it way, way too difficult. And so I just would urge you, first of all, to number one, start thinking as a diamond right now, today. When you get off of this Zoom, you're a diamond. And so, as a diamond, how are you going to conduct yourself? What are you going to do? Are you going to spend time on things that don't really matter? And these are things that we constantly need to evaluate. So, we want to make sure that we're thinking as a diamond and that we're not wasting time. And this is one of the things that people have a major issue with. So many people, and once again, as I share this with everybody, I want you to know that I have done everything I'm talking about here. I've danced around the 1,000-pound telephone. I've wasted a lot of time. I've rearranged everything in my office. I got my list alphabetically put together before. I've done all of these things that are nice to do, but they're not contacting somebody new that's not in Avini. I've heard it several times from leaders through the years is that if you're calling someone, if you're making an outgoing phone call to someone, it should be to someone that is not yet in Avini. We're not here to try to continue to motivate our organizations. We motivate our organizations organically by leading by example, by doing what a diamond does. When you do what a diamond does, people want to follow that. And it's like magnetism to a certain degree. It really is. It's crazy. You go to one of these summits and Dave can't even get from the meeting room to his hotel room because people are all around him all the time. That's what happens when you become a diamond. And it's really not the title of diamond, it's what you have become. That's the key, what you have become. You'll find that diamonds are people that most people want to hang around with. They want to be around because they're folks that are down to earth, they're confident, they're not cocky. There's a difference. I've known people in the industry that were extremely cocky and they were egomaniacs. They've just kind of jumped around from company to company. The people that are confident and that do things right end up being with companies for a long time. And you have found a company that you can be with a long, long time here in Avini. And so we don't want to waste time. So ask yourself, with everything you're doing, would a diamond be doing this right now? The other thing is today, make sure that you are functioning as a diamond. So as a diamond, you're making 10, 15, 20, $25,000 a month. If you're making that kind of money monthly, residual money of that amount monthly, then guess what? You're going to act a little differently. You're going to have a little different smile and pep in your step when you're going about life. And people want to be around. Our world today has so much negativity. You know, my wife and I, we actually make it a game when we're walking around our neighborhood that, by the way, we've lived in for 17 years. And there's been so much influx of people from other areas, and we walk around the neighborhood and we really challenge ourselves to make someone that passes us walking smile because so few people smile today. I don't understand it. But if you're making that kind of money and you've really built a business, you're going to be smiling. And so remember that phone is very, very important, very important. And pick it up and make the calls. That's where it all begins. And I've got a lot more information I want to cover. But Dave, is there anything you want to add to what I've just said, or you got any questions that you want to ask me?
Oh, I was just thinking about what you're talking about. That's so fundamental is our business is essentially talking to people. And there's just no substitute if you're just making that personal attempt. It's so tempting to think, oh, if I can make this funnel and if I can automate everything and not have to touch people, but somewhere along the line, you're going to have to reach people. And why not talk to people that you already have relationships with that like you and trust you? And I think one of the wonderful things, a lot of the people in Avini, they're older. And I think one of our greatest assets, as far as what makes us successful and even happy, is the relationships that we have. That's the true wealth, is just the width and breadth of your relationships, who you love and who loves you. And it's just a natural thing to share things that we believe in with the people we love. And so just keep that in mind and then think, okay, now it's something new. I'm going to talk to them about Avini. Get it off of yourself and just think, how can I serve them? I know this is going to help them. And but on the other hand, I just think back when I was a kid and first started getting interested in girls, and probably the hardest thing for a young guy to do is call a girl. Now, nowadays it's internet and all of this stuff and chat, but in the olden days, all we had was a telephone. That's all there was. And I remember, oh goodness, I get into this business. I've got to start all over again. Scary the phone. And you mentioned the 1,000 pound phone. I think all of us have that feeling. But I think one of the most important things is one of the things I would just say over and over again. I've said it thousands of times. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. And this idea that if I don't call them, they're definitely not going to be interested. I should give them that choice. And so if they don't ask, the answer is always no. And then I would just reinforce that. I'd say, I love the telephone. The telephone is my friend. I love to pick up the telephone and talk to people and just get excited about it, walk around and get excited and think, okay, now what's the worst thing that's going to happen? If you do a Vini, you don't have to ruffle feathers and make anybody mad. It's the same thing. Last night, Valerie and I were out to dinner, and the waitress, really nice. Oh, and I told her, I can't help myself. I just says, have you ever thought of being in sales? And she said, no, I really haven't. And I says, well, you got a really good personality. You could be good in this. And we just started talking back and forth. And she says, what do you do? I said, I've been in sales my whole life. And what do you do? And I just mentioned, well, in the last few years, I've been helping a biochemist start his company. We got the most cool stuff I've ever seen. It's transformative. But started telling a few stories, and I says, "Hey, I've got an interview with this biochemist. Can I text it to you?" And she said, "Oh yeah." So I got her name and phone number, and I've already sent a couple of things to her. And who knows? It might not go anywhere, but it could be the next diamond. But I just think every day, all upside, numerous possibilities. What's the worst thing will happen? The same thing as the waitress. We said no, thank you on the dessert. She didn't burst into tears. She didn't take that as personal rejection. And if they can hold up to rejection, we can too. And it's just as soft a no as that. Would you like to look at a dessert menu? No, thank you. Hey, I need your help. Would you do me a favor? I've listened to this biochemist talking about something that's a real breakthrough. Can I send you something that talks about what he's doing? And worst thing that'll happen, no, thank you. Most of the time they'll take a look though, but it's just numbers. Get really good at that and then do it again and again. Just like the waitress, again and again. Would you like to look at a dessert menu? Would you like to look at a dessert menu? Some of them do, and that's an extra. I don't know, maybe they share a dessert and it's $10, an extra 20% on an extra $10, that's $2. Let's say that happens 5 times during their shift. That's an extra $10. Day after day after day, an extra $10. That could be thousands of dollars a year to say, would you like to look at a dessert menu? And same thing with Avini. Hey, would you take a look at this little thing here? And you do it and do it and do it. All upside, no downside. It's just amazing. So get really good, do it often, and look for good people that might need this. Of course, everybody
Yeah,
needs it.
Dave, as you were discussing your experience last night, it brought to mind something that I've taught for years, and that is when we pick up the phone, it's getting that mind right before we pick the phone up and we make the phone call. And you usually make that phone call or the introduction. I mean, obviously Dave's a natural because he's been doing it for a while. You can become a natural practicing with your wife or your spouse or your dog or your cat or your child or your steering wheel or whatever. You can become really, really smooth at sharing the information with others and make it where it is a gift, and it truly is a gift. And as Dave was describing that, it was a gift. And so I always like to say, when you get prepared to call someone to share Avini with them, we usually have two thought processes going on in our mind. And here's what I would urge you. Let's call these people with the anticipation that it is going to be a good call. Because if you call with the anticipation, you don't run out on the football field knowing that you're going to get your brains beat out. You go out there anticipating to win the game. And so let's make the phone call with the anticipation that something positive. Now, they may not become a distributor, they may not want to do it. That's okay. But they might give us a referral. And so that is one of the best ways to build your business. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But what most of us tend to do is we tend to call people with apprehension. And you know what I have learned in life is that people can feel if we're a little timid, if we're not really into what we're doing, if we're not sure, they can feel that. But man, they can also feel when we have something. And that is a powerful feeling. But something that Dave shared with everybody just a minute ago happened to me this week, and it's powerful stuff. I had a really, really close friend in Huntsville that he and I did lots and lots of things together through the years. And we had done a couple of businesses together, and his life changed and he got married to another person. And I haven't talked to him in probably 10 years. And I reached out to him this week to share with Avini, but really to catch up with him as well. What's going on with you, man? I hadn't even met your new wife. I'd love to do that. And so, man, it was just a fantastic phone call. And he gets up to Nashville every now and then. We're going to get together here in the next month, and he's going to look at the information. But he's texted me afterwards and he said, man, thanks for calling. That made my day. It's one of the best phone calls I've had in a long, long time. So you just never know when just reaching out to somebody that you've known before. I mean, it can change their whole outlook on anything in life. And so make sure that we're doing that. Make sure that we're reaching out. And let me just share a few more things
Hey, can
about.
I just emphasize what you're talking about? I
Yes,
think
sir.
one of the most important things is if you're getting into a Avini and your whole idea is I need to build me an empire, you're probably going to fail. I think to be really good in a Avini, you need to become the sort of person that you really ought to be anyway. I believe doing something like this, just doing it right, we learn to be our best form of ourselves. And so if you're calling people thinking, oh, I'm gonna get somebody, no, nobody likes that. But if you're really actually thinking, I like this person and I'm catching up and just really being interested, people can tell that if you learn. And that's not a sales strategy, it's genuine. You really love people and care about them. And when you do that, just you're going to have fun. And also, just like what you were saying, I like that, where he says, wow, thank you for the phone call. You really added some value, whether he does a Vini or not, you added value. And that's the thing I love to do is even a hello or a smile could lead to some good things. And so just think of, I'm here to scatter sunshine and have just a positive cheer. But on the other hand, boy, we could work well together. And boy, this is the funnest thing I've ever done. Come and work with me. And so it just can naturally happen. But just let it organically happen rather than bam, bam, bam. I'm going to see how many people I can get today. Take a moment, be interested in people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to the day when people don't care until they know how much you care, and they can feel that. People can feel that. So, just a few things in that regard. Number one is be a great listener. See, hearing and listening are two different things. We all can hear, but if you're really listening to someone, man, it just makes a major difference because most people are not listening in today's world. Everybody's talking, everybody wants to talk. Be quick to listen, slow to speak. Let's learn that if we can do that. And then, probably one of the most intriguing things to me about network marketing is people have this perception of it, and it's always, and that's a strong word, always, but I believe it. Most people that don't really understand and haven't taken the time to look at network marketing, they always have the wrong perception of our business. They really do. And so I think it's important that we help help to be able to share that with other people. But if we do it in a different fashion, you want to share this with someone the way that you would want someone to share something with you. If you do that, it's the old golden rule. My goodness, this is a business of the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Help everybody get what they want, and that'll give you the things that you wanted to achieve as well. But let's become better listeners, not better presenters, better listeners. Because if you listen, it's magically, I talk, MJ quoted me, magically, it just kind of walks someone down the path that they want to be. Number one, they're evaluating us. I truly believe this. I believe they're evaluating us as someone they're looking to possibly go into business with as much as they're evaluating Avini and our products. I think they're evaluating us. And if they don't see themselves going into business with us, then they probably won't. And so one thing I never did in corporate America, and I just find this really intriguing. I worked for two majors. As a matter of fact, when I was with Johnson and Johnson, they were the largest healthcare company in the world. And they never once taught us anything about self-development. Never. They did teach us how to be better salespeople, how to be better closers, how to make sure you get the sale. They taught us all of that stuff, but they never taught Mickey Dillon how to be a better Mickey Dillon. And so that's one of the things that I just cherish and love about network marketing is that this industry really, really teaches you principles that will help you become a better person. And it really is what you become that matters in the overall scheme of things. What you become, the way you treat people. It's kind of like, I can't remember if it was Jim Rohn or who it was, start with the end in mind. What at your funeral, do you want to have 10 people there or 10,000 people there and everybody really just blessed that they knew you in life? And that's kind of what we're talking about here is becoming better at being ourselves. And Dave said it, let's evaluate ourselves. That's one way that I truly believe you can identify a really strong candidate to be that next diamond is someone, number one, that's taking the right actions. They're doing it with the right attitude. But then after every interaction, they're asking, hey, Dave, what did I do well there? Dave, what can I do better? What'd you think about this? They're constantly evaluating themselves. I'll just use golf as an example. These guys and girls are the best in the entire world. But you know what they do when they finish every round? They go right to the practice tee and they practice some of the things that might not have gone so well in that round for them. They're evaluating their game constantly. And now many of these golfers have mental coaches because golf is a mental game. And guess what? Avini's a mental game too, because we have these conversations with ourselves. I can't remember how many MJ says we have like 85,000 conversations with ourselves a day. I mean, it's crazy. But if we continue to evaluate ourselves and get better, make sure this. And you hear these things at the craziest places. My wife likes to watch the show The Voice, and she had The Voice on last night. And Kelsey Ballerini's a country music singer from Knoxville, Tennessee. And man, I tell you what, she is so mature for her age. She's not very old. And she said something that I ran into the office here and wrote it down last night. She said, comparison is the thief of joy. Think about that. We all tend to compare ourselves to other people. Let's compare ourselves to ourselves. If we compare ourselves to ourselves and make sure that today we're better than we were yesterday, and tomorrow we're going to be better than we were today. If we compare ourselves to ourselves, you know what? It's not the thief of joy, but my goodness, if you try to compare yourself to somebody else all the time, it's always going to be disappointing. I can tell you, I wanted to play college football at the highest level when I was 5'10", 155 pounds coming out of high school. There weren't many places in the SEC that were signing guys that size. And so I found myself comparing myself to these guys that were 6'3", 220. I'm thinking, man, if I had that size, well, I didn't have that size. God blessed me with what I've got. And so I went and made the best of what I've got. And so we've got to learn to compare ourselves to ourselves and get better every day. And you know what? I think we're doing that. We are doing some great things. And so I just want to share a couple of things here, Dave, quickly. Number one, we've got a regional coming up here in Salt Lake City, June the 21st. I would urge all of you to be there. We are going to have a regional format that's going to be a little bit different than we've done before, and it is going to be powerful, very powerful. So go ahead and make your reservations, get registered for that. We've got our next summit in August at the Tuscany in Vegas. Yes, it's going to be hot, and that's okay. You know what? Avini's hot. And so we're going to go and we're going to celebrate together and sweat together, baby. That's what we're going to do. And so make sure that you're registered for that. May the 7th, that's next Wednesday night. We will be doing a business opportunity presentation at the home office in Boca Raton. If you know anybody, I don't care if they're over on the west coast of Florida, they can drive across Alligator Alley and come see us. Make sure you get everybody you can to that event. And let me also say this, if you have someone in that area and you want them to come to the event, then get me on the phone with you. Let's call them together and I'll invite them to come and be my guest at the event. Neil's going to be there. Rick's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Chip and Marcy are going to be there. It's going to be a really, really good event right there at the corporate office. And then we've got our 50% promotion going on through May into June. So make sure that you take advantage of that. I know Dave Johnson. I mean, come on, Dave. Dave just enrolled 2 new people. Dave is doing what we're teaching everybody to do. And he's leading by example. So it's an exciting time to be involved with Avini. I believe everybody that decides, and that's the word, that's the key word in that sentence. Everybody that decides they're going to be a diamond can be a diamond. But you got to decide to do it, and then you got to do the things that can take you there. So, Dave, thank you so much for having me on the call. And I mean, I'll hang around as long as you need me to hang around.
Oh, let's go for it. I love the idea that if you do what diamonds do, pretty soon you'll be a diamond because we live in a world of cause and effect. And so it's just the magic of compounding, doing those things day after day, and you start seeing a trend. And if it's that fundamental skill of reaching out to people and asking people to take a look, following up, developing relationships, and it starts happening, you get confidence. And I love what John Maxwell talks about, that confidence and charisma, they're synonymous essentially. If you're winning, you're just more attractive. And it's just fun. Something happens when you're doing it. People know. And so let's go do this.
You know, when you said that, it made me think of somebody that put Davidson College, my small little school in North Carolina, and that now it has 2,000 students. When I was there, 1,300 students. But Steph Curry, he put Davidson on the map. Well, my goodness, I believe he's the best shooter of all time in all of basketball history. And if you ever watch this guy, it's just amazing. But you can tell he he just emotes confidence. He can take one step across half court, boom, and he knows in his mind that thing's going in. And in most cases, it is. And that's the same thing. That's exactly what Dave was just talking about. That confidence, man, that confidence. People want to be around someone. People want to follow someone that knows where they're going. And people can tell if you know where you're going. There are people that I talk to on a weekly basis in Avini that are not yet at Diamond, but in their mind they are, and they have it already written down when they're going to be there and how they're going to get there, and they are on their way, and they are every single month taking those steps necessary, and they're already there in their mind. That's the major battle, is life and in our minds, so we can overcome those things. And it's just exciting to see. We're going to look back on these days, and I know Dave's been in this situation before, and I certainly have too, and many of the people that are involved in our company. We're going to look back on these days in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and you know what? You're going to be thankful that you dug deeper, that you made one more phone call. You're going to be thankful that you reached out to that person that maybe you didn't feel comfortable reaching out to, but you did. And man, now you got your friend back and they've joined you in this venture. You just never know. So it's that anticipation of good things occurring. And my goodness, life for people today is tough. It's tough out there. And we bring a ray of hope in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of ways. One other thing that I will say is that Neil will be doing his CEO call this coming Tuesday. We've got a couple of new tools that we're going to be announcing on that call Tuesday that you will be able to use that are, I believe, going to help the process, help you simplify the process and get people moving down the path of making a positive decision to join us. So be on the lookout for that and make sure that you're on that call. So, Dave, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, well, let's just go do this. The day is still young. Make a few contacts with people. And if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And so, wow, think about that. Boca Raton, do you know somebody in Florida? Do you know somebody in the Salt Lake City area? If you don't call them, it's certainly they're not going to be at that meeting. All the people that have not invited have not come. But then on the other hand, as it grows, maybe somebody else will invite them. And that's the worst thing than even a no is if you find out your friend got under someone else. And then, yeah, so wow, just go do this. Thanks, Mickey. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right.